Hey everyone, Kevin here. What I've got here is the OnePlus 5. Now if you subscribe to my channel, you'll know that I've been doing a series of tests of this phone all week. I've now owned the phone for 6 days and I think that's enough time for me to speak about what I like, what I don't like, and give you a basic understanding of what you can expect if you buy this phone. So let's jump over to my desk and we'll take a closer look at the OnePlus 5. So here I have the OnePlus 5. It is, without a doubt, a very thin and a very light phone. It's perhaps a little bit hard to convey that in a video, but when you hold this in your hand, it's super thin. From a design point of view, you can say that they've drawn inspiration from the iPhone 7, or you can be a little bit meaner and just say they've just completely copied the design. You know, the design of the back and with the camera placement, it's just identical to the Apple iPhone 7. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'm not sure, but I'm surprised they haven't had a court case by now. At the end of the day, there's only so many ways that you can put a camera lens in the back. Okay, I'll just quickly go around the phone and show you what's there. The right hand side here, we've got the power button and we've got the SIM card slot. And if I get that out, you'll notice that there's no micro SD slot, but you do get 2 SIM card slots. And you can see one of them is a little dummy one. When you take it out, you get 2 little things that just say nano SIM on it. And there's my SIM card there. At the bottom, we have the speaker. We've got the USB Type-C charging cable, it's got a mic, and we've got the 3.5mm headphone jack, something which a lot of phones don't have now. We've got the volume rocker here on the left, and we've got what they call the alert slider, and this allows you to change it from do not disturb to silent to ring. Very, very useful actually. That's really handy. It's not something you normally see in it on an Android phone. There's nothing at the top. And that's it. Now, obviously here you've got the fingerprint reader. It's very responsive. They claim it's 0.2 seconds. You can see it works really well. And you've got the back and the menu button, but you can actually switch those around if you want. You put the back button there if you're used to it being on the other side. Also with the OnePlus logo there. Sorry if I get it in the shop. Now, camera wise, you've got a 16 megapixel sensor at the front and a 16 and a 20. I think that's the right order. The telescopic lens on the right hand side and then the flash. So you've got dual cameras on the back. And again, as I said, it's very, very light. So if I bring over my scales, hopefully I'll be able to illustrate that. So, for comparison, this is my HTC U11, 173 grams, which is 6.1 ounces. And the OnePlus 5 is 157 grams, 5.6 ounces. So it's not a huge amount lighter, but you do feel, I have noticed that being used to this phone, going to this one, I do realise it's thinner, it's lighter. You do realise that when you're using it. Now, it's not like this phone is bulky. This phone isn't bulky, but in comparison, the OnePlus 5 is a very, very thin phone. Much thinner. When I've got this phone out, I believe I've got it here. Just to quickly go over some of the specs here. Now, one of the first things to note, both of these phones have the Snapdragon 835. They've got the Adreno 540. That's all good from a performance point of view. This has got 8GB of RAM. The HTC U11 and most other flagships have only got 4GB of RAM. Where this falls behind is the screen. It's got a 1080p screen rather than the 1440p screen which is on this. How does that, what does that mean? When you're actually using it, it's not something I really notice, if I'm honest. So I think it's not a bad thing, this being a 1080p screen, because the screen is one of the things that drains the battery the most. So if you're not draining a lot of battery, you know, with the screen, you should hopefully get better battery life. So that's, well, hopefully. Here's the thing. I've been using this, but I haven't been using it for my daily driver. I've not been using it every single day. Hold on, I'll hide this number here. You can see that I made a call this morning just to check that, you know, that the earpiece and, you know, that it was okay for calls. Everything seems okay. It's not something I normally worry about with a modern phone. You normally get that right. But yeah, from the screen seems quite good. It's 401 pixels per inch. Gorilla Glass 5, Android 7.1. Now this can record 4K at the back, and it can record 1080p from the front. It can also record 1080p at 60 frames per second at the back. So that's quite good. From a feature point of view, it is lacking a few things. As I said, it's got a 1080p screen. This has a micro SD slot that I've now got 256 gigabytes in. This does not. Now, it is 128 gigabytes of storage, so I think for most people that'll be okay. So the lack of a micro SD slot isn't too bad if you go for the more expensive option. It's not waterproof either. That's something else that this has that this doesn't. A lot of other phones have got waterproofing now. It's kind of standard on most phones, so a little bit annoying to see it missing from this one. And from a design point of view, it doesn't give as much of a premium feel as you would expect for a flagship phone. This has a real kind of polish to it. You know, the glass goes all the way to the side. It's got a really kind of weighty feel to it. It sounds strange because it's not much heavier, but just it feels a lot nicer in the hand, a little bit thicker, and it just seems better, you know, more well made. This doesn't feel cheap, but, you know, in order to keep it light and thin, they've chosen to use this plastic. But here's the thing. There's a really good YouTube channel called Jerry Rig Everything. I hope I've got that name right. And he does lots of phone tests where he basically destroys them. He bends them, he scratches them and things like that. And he showed, you know, like scratching this with keys, and it made a mark, and then it just wiped away. So there is a very good argument for not using things like aluminium, which do tend to chip and scrape easier, and using something like this, which, you know, should stand the test of time a little bit better. I would say though that from a usability point of view, both of these phones are quite slippy. I found this to be slippy, and this is even worse. And I noticed it when I was out the other night. I was filming some clips, you know, filming the nighttime footage of the video, to test the video camera. And, you know, just holding it like that at nighttime, it feels very unsafe in the hand. It feels like it's ready to just pop out at any time. And for me, this is a phone that I would always buy a case for because of that. So it kind of negates the fact that this is a thin and sexy phone that you need to use a case. Whether you need to use it or not. I mean, you can use it without it, but for me, this is too slippy to use without a case. So as far as what you get in the box, now I've done an unboxing, so I don't want to go over that too much, but I'll just quickly talk about that. First thing is you get a screen protector, and they put it on when you buy it. So that is really good. I like that, because putting a screen protector on is an absolute pain in the bum. As far as accessories go, very, very minimal. With my HTC U11, I got a cheap little bumper, and I got earphones which aren't the most comfortable, but they're very, very good from an audio point of view. Now that's something they threw in because that doesn't have a 3.5mm headphone jack, whereas this does. And I've tested it with the earphones that I'm wearing just now, these ones, and audio seemed really good. In the case, what you're going to get is what they call a dash charger, and you get a really sexy red cable. So, bend over and get this. Okay, I've got it. This is an Anker USB Type-C cable. Pretty good cable. I paid about £12 for, and it's plugged into my old Nexus 6P adapter. What I'm going to do now is test the power. Okay, right. So I should get a pretty good charging rate with this. So I'm getting 1080 milliamps there. It's not the best. We're at 53%. Might see the rate going up a little bit. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because this dash charger, which they recommend only buying the official one and not using other ones. They've did some tests online, they've showed you some videos, and charging your phone from 0 to 100% is much shorter with this. They're saying you can get a full charge in like an hour. It's very, very good. And they compared it to a Samsung S8 and it charged twice as quick. Now that is quite significant. Now it kind of makes up for the fact that this doesn't have wireless charging. If you're used to wireless charging, you know, that's maybe a downer that this doesn't have it, but it is kind of negated a little bit by the fact that you get in this cable. So you can see it's going up a little bit. I did expect that to be a little bit higher because I've had it a little bit higher in the past. But what I'm going to do is plug in the dash charger and we'll see what the difference is like when I put in the official cable. For the record, by the way, I like the fact that this is red because nearly all cables you get are black. And I like these little holders to hold in the cable. It's really cool. Little things like that are good. I've got the dash charger in and the official cable. The cable's quite short. I think it's only 3.3 feet, 1 meter. So I prefer a little bit longer cables just because of, you know, I find it when they're too short, I find it annoying. So we're getting about 1250 milliamps with the anchor cable that I've got. Let's see what we get from the official. Oh, it's not plugged in right. Okay, we're cooking with gas now. Now, not sure if you noticed that there, but you've got a little, it's like a little dash symbol when you've plugged in the official dash cable. You see it there? And look at that, up to 3000 milliamps right away. We're going higher. This lets you know that it's the official dash cable that's in there. Now, my friend Kevin has got the OnePlus 3T and he raves about this. He talks about the fact that he would find it hard to go to another brand because they don't have this fast charging feature. He talks about the fact that he never even plugs in his phone at night time now because he just wakes up, plugs it in, and 20 or 30 minutes later, he's pretty much got a full charge. So, without a doubt, this is one of the best selling points of any OnePlus phone, and especially the OnePlus 5. It's got the latest technology there, and look at that. You know, this will be charged in a very short period of time. So, kudos to OnePlus for that. That is a really cool feature. So, I have talked about some of these things through the week in other videos, but I'd like to tie up my thoughts, tie up everything that I think about all of this. Volume. Let's talk about volume. Now, obviously I can't show you what audio quality is like from an earphone point of view, but we can hopefully, get my little reader out here, we can hopefully test what it's like for the speakers. So what I did there is push the maximum button. So now you only see a change in the sound level when it exceeds the previous highest level. You can see it's peaking there about 89.1. And goes a little bit higher obviously when I get closer to it. The speakers are okay. You know, in general, speakers are never going to match the quality you'll get from a good set of Bluetooth speakers or anything like that. But I think most people would be happy with them. You know, for a smartphone, the speakers are okay. It is worth, again, reminding you that the speaker is down the bottom. I still think the older HTC M8 that had the dual facing speakers at the front was probably the best setup as far as a rich sound. But phone companies need to make sacrifices in order to, fit everything into a smaller and lighter phone. And there are bezels on this phone, larger than the Samsung S8 and things like that, but I don't think they're excessive, personally. So, what to talk about next? Well, let's talk about the operating system itself. This is what OnePlus call Oxygen OS, and if you'd like a closer look at it, take a look at the video that I did about this. But my overall thoughts on it are that it's very, very good. Absolutely no bloatware. There was 2 apps. There was one, they weren't even apps really. There was a weather, well, in fact, one was a weather app. The other one was a shortcut to the OnePlus forum, the community, and you can remove both of them. It's not like, for example, in my HTC U11, there's about 2 or 3 apps, for example, the Zoho video editor, and when I try to remove it, it just gives me the option to reset it to the factory version. I can't remove it without going in and manually disabling it. That is something I don't like. I like the fact that they've said, no, this is your phone, we're not going to force any apps on you, so kudos to them for that. It's a very light skin, it's very close to Android, stock, in that the fact it's very light. But what they've done is added a lot of kind of little customizations. You saw one there, this little shelf. I think they call it a shelf or something. Yeah, they call it a shelf, and you can turn that off. Now it's away. And there's a lot of other little things there as well. There's different icons. Now, a lot of the customization options can be found in the settings area, and you'll see a lot of them. You can customize the alert slider. There's lots of gestures. The 3-finger screenshot is one of my favorite. Look at that. That's option. I'm misspeaking a lot today. That's awesome. That's really good. What you normally need to do is hold the power button and then like volume down or something. While I'm on the subject of the power buttons, etc., most phones I've used have the power and the volume rocker at the exact same side. Now, I went from the Nexus having the power there and the volume there, and this has got the power here and the volume there. This has got power on one side and volume on the other. Now, I'm still used to the volume being on this side. That being said, I think this is a better setup. Having the volume on one side and the power on the other means that you never hit the power button by mistake. There's been lots of times when using phones in the past where I've tried to change the volume and I've turned it off. So I think it's better to keep it separately. And I think once I get used to it, it'll be hard going back to, having the volume and power button close to each other. Now, back to the gestures, back to the customization. There's lots of other things you can do here. You can see that you can draw an O, V, S, M, and W, and you can do it to do lots of different things. You can open apps, you can record a video. It's really good how you can customize it. I think there's enough different, gestures for most people and for most apps that you'll be using, etc. For example, if you want to open Gmail, you could just do a little circle, or you want to open your favorite game, do a little circle or do a V, and it will open the app. And in fact, let's show that in action. Let's in fact, we'll do it and we'll test a game at the same time. Kingdom Rush. So when we draw a 0, we should. I've not tried 0 yet. This is what happens in live TV. Right, circle. Okay, that isn't working. Right, see, this is when I should really test these things before I do the video, shouldn't I? Right. Try a V. Maybe a V is better. Same app. Why is that? See, that's bringing it down. Okay, so that isn't working as well as I'd thought. I apologise for not testing that before. I tried the 3-finger gesture and it worked great. So I had assumed that this would work well as well. You can do double tap to wake and some other things. Forget about the gestures, that was a complete failure there. The double tap to wake is something that a lot of phones do now. No. So that's quite cool. Open it with your finger. Okay, let's forget about the gesture incident. There's a lot of other customization options around here. I'll just quickly show you. It's got 111 gigabyte which can be used. And look at that. I'm using 2.5 gigabytes and there's 5.1 free, which is insane. Now, I did a quick video about this yesterday, and my thinking of the whole 6 gigabyte and 8 gigabyte is there's a good argument for having 6 gigabyte. You can argue that some apps need more memory and that will help things. I think 8 gigabytes at this point of time in 2017 is more of a marketing gimmick. I don't think anyone will ever get to using 8 gigabytes of RAM personally. This runs great on 4 gigabytes of RAM. I realise that over time, the amount of memory that apps and Android use will increase, but I think by the time that smartphones need 6 and 8 gigabytes of RAM, the battery on this will be dead. It's a built-in battery. You can't take it off. You can't take it out and replace it. You need to send it back or go to, you'd have to send it back to OnePlus. I don't think there's any distributors or any shops that allow you to do that. So, yeah, I think the 6 gigabyte version is perhaps more sensible. But the reason I went for this was because I had 128 gigabytes of storage. Doesn't have a micro SD card. So it makes sense to buy the one with the most storage, in my opinion, because it's something that I would use. And with my Google Nexus 6P, I nearly always had 50, 60 gigabytes of storage being used. So for me, it was important. One of the options that I really liked in here, there's a lot of customization options that are kind of just integrated into the whole settings area. One of my favorites was one I shared the other day, and it is the app locker. This is something I think is awesome. You can lock any apps that you've got to protect it. So, for example, now this is a bad example, but let's say the calculator had sensitive information. Let's say the calculator was something like Facebook or emails or something like that. If you open the calculator, if I can find it, you need to put in your pattern or you need to put in your fingerprint. Now, if you turn it off, you need to put it in again. If you just go back into it there, you won't have to do it. But once you've powered it off, back on, you need to unlock it again. You can download that type of thing. There's apps for this in the Android store, the Google Play Store. But to have that built in is, for me, a nice little touch. And it's something that I think enhances the phone. So it's good to see that there. Now, my little O experiment didn't work. Doesn't work. This V and O. That's annoying me. Right. I'm going to clear all that. I think, have I got it on auto rotate? No. Okay, what I'm going to do is put in Kingdom Rush just to quickly show you a game. As you would expect, loads rapidly because this is an absolute beast from a performance point of view. Now, if you've watched my videos before, I don't want to focus too much on benchmarks and testing that. There's a lot of websites that do that. I don't think there's any benefit of me showing you that this performs 0.02 seconds faster than this. For me, that, it doesn't really do anything for me. I think most people don't care about that. And for those who do, there are websites that spend hours and days testing the little specifics about things like that. I'm trying to show you this, but it's, for whatever reason, this... All right, here we go. Wasn't logging in there. Yeah. Again, it's important to remember at this point as well, this is a 1080p screen. But I think when you've got over 400 pixels per inch, it's not a major issue. Right, just start the race. It's like booking a flight in a low-priced airline. You've got about 5,000 options just to start the game. My silly fingers. Right, resume. Okay. This will handle anything you throw it from a gaming point of view. There's not any phones out there with a better processor, with more RAM. So from a performance point of view, you don't have to worry about anything like that. Browsing speed, all that kind of thing, you're not going to be... let me see. GSM Arena. I gave them some love the other day. You know, it's going to be quick to navigate. You're not going to have any problems using this from a usability point of view. It's very, very good. So, call quality is good. Audio is fairly good. Camera is, of course, one of the biggest selling points of this. In fact, it's one of the things that they note on their phone. It's got dual camera, clearer photos. Looking from behind the mic, that looked like cleverer photos. So, what are my thoughts on the camera? Pretty good. Now, I showed you the default camera app the other day. It has some cool options, like, for example, this is a depth effect, which allows you to take like a bokeh photo. If I can... It comes into... Once something comes into focus between 0.3 and 0.2 meters, it creates this kind of bokeh effect, where it zooms into a subject. That's quite cool. You know, I did that there earlier on. I thought that was quite cool. That was using the bokeh effect, the depth effect. It's got a portrait mode as well. That I've not spent as much time with that. The actual camera app's quite cool. It's got video, portrait, pro mode, time lapse, slow motion, panorama. There's a few basic settings that you can change. You can add your own watermark to your photos if you want, but you can't change the fact it says shot on OnePlus. But it's one of those things. You can take away the shutter sound, double tap the power button to instantly take a photo. So that will open the camera app. Double tap. You can't see it there, but I'm taking photos. The fact that I've just taken a few photos there should show that. Yeah, the camera app's quite good. There's a pro mode as well. You know, that allows you to control white balance and ISO and exposure and all that. So, photo quality, I've only taken a few photos. I've been quite happy with it. There's hundreds of samples online and people are taking really good photos. For me, the photos look like they're just as good as those from the HTC U11, the Samsung S8, the LG G6, the iPhone 7, and you know, the Google Pixel. To me, it looks good. From a video point of view, seems okay. Now, you know, I've been using the HTC U11 a lot, so I'm drawing some comparisons to that. But from a video point of view, for the front camera, 1080p, I thought that the colours were a little bit better in HTC U11. But I found that the stabilization was better in the OnePlus 5. When I was walking around, it seemed to be more stable and wasn't as much jumping around as I got with my HTC U11. Now, you guys know that for me, buying a phone, one of the most important things is video, because I'm uploading videos to YouTube. So the built-in microphone is important, the built-in microphones, plural, but how it handles video during the daytime and at night time is important as well. For the back camera, I don't think from a video recording point of view that the OnePlus 5 is falling behind any other phone in the market just now. I think that, you know, you can look at the clips that I've uploaded online, you can see for yourself, but I found that the back camera performance was, you know, on par with the HTC U11. It seemed that way. It was only really in the front camera that I noticed there was a little bit of graininess. But again, the electrical optimal image stabilization, electrical image stabilization was a little bit better in the OnePlus 5. Microphone wise, I thought the mics in the HTC U11 were slightly better. slightly better. And I need to emphasize the word slightly better, because the mics in this, from a video recording point of view, are by no means bad. I just thought they were slightly better on this one. Not enough to change your purchase, put it that way. But I think if you're vlogging, you should be happy with the mic quality on the OnePlus 5. Certainly not bad at all. I'm attempting to film myself in 4K mode, which is quite hard. Even with the selfie stick, it's a little bit hard because I can't see what's being recorded. I can see the cameras, obviously, but you know, when you do it in selfie mode, you can see the screen. But maybe this gives you a better idea of what the image stabilization is like, or lack of it. So at night time, we kind of saw I kind of saw a similar story where the back camera was okay at night time, but the front camera struggled a little bit when it was in low light. But I mean, that is to be expected. So if I look through some of my clips, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I'm just using my hand now to record video and not using my selfie stick. You can see parts with the shade. You know, there are street lights here, and when you're in the light it's okay, but obviously when you're in the shade you're not going to get much light here. So I don't think you can even see me right now, but I am in that same alleyway, but without the light. Can you maybe see me now? Now, I think it's easy to look at footage of nighttime clips and then get the impression that the camera's bad, but it's not. It's easy to forget that any camera, regardless of whether it's a really good compact camera or if it's a DSLR, if there isn't a lot of light, if you're in the dark, it's going to struggle. And smartphones are no different. And I think it actually punches above its weight in some respects. So when I do say that low light performance obviously isn't better, then, you know, remember what you're talking about here. Most footage that you see online that's in the dark has got external lighting that's lighting up the area so that you can see what's happening. But as you can see, I think that's a snappy phone. I think it's fast. I think it's quite a sexy phone. And I think that most people would be happy with the OnePlus 5. So I hope you've enjoyed this review of the OnePlus 5. And I think the question that a lot of you will be asking is whether the OnePlus 5 is worth buying. And again, this is something that it really does come down to your needs and what your expectations are. This does have a few features missing, and it really depends on how important those features are to you. It doesn't have a micro SD slot. It does have dual SIM. It doesn't have waterproofing, but it does have a healthy amount of storage, 128 gigabytes or 64 gigabytes. You know, a lot of people will be happy with that. The cameras are fairly decent, and they definitely stand shoulder to shoulder with the iPhone 7, Google Pixel, Samsung S8. I mean, you can draw your own comparisons and look at these reviews that delve into photos and videos a little bit deeper, but I found that they were very good. And, you know, I've been using the HTC U11 for quite a few weeks now, but if I had to give that up and switch to this, I don't think I'd be disappointed. So there's a lot of things that I love about this phone, but I think there's a lot of things to love about this as well. I love the fact that the operating system is so light. You know, there's no bloatware there. I've had about 3 or 4 updates to the operating system already, and I've only had it 6 days. So that's quite impressive. The other thing is price. Now, OnePlus isn't the bargain it used to be. When OnePlus first came out, they had this annoying invitation system, etc., to, you know, limit demand or limit supply more like. And it was very, very cheap. You know, in the UK, they were selling some phones at £240, £250. It was very, very cheap. Today, you can get the 6 gigabyte version with 64 gigabytes of storage for £450 or $479. The more expensive one that I've got here, 8 gigabyte of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, is $539. I need to keep checking that. So it's $539 for the top end phone, or £500 in the UK. Now, in some respects, you can see where they've cut corners. For example, with my HTC U11, this was £100 more expensive in the UK, but you can take this into any shop in the UK and return it, rather than return it to the OnePlus directly to them. It came with a cheap little bumper, which isn't worth much, but it did come with earphones, and it's quite minimal as far as what you get in the box. You get a charger, you get a cable. I'd like to have reviewed a few cases for you guys, but when I bought this last week, no cases were available. Now, there seems to be some in stock now, so maybe I'll buy a case soon and review it for you guys. Overall, I think that this is a good package. Whether this is something you buy over the Samsung S8 or the LG G6 or any other phones out in the market today, again, it comes down to what you need. It doesn't have wireless charging, but again, that feature is something that I think is negated somewhat by the fact that the dual charging adapter thing is amazing. I mean, it charges twice as fast as a Samsung S8. And in today's world of using YouTube, of using your phone as an MP3 player for recording videos, and seeing your power bar going down to the fact that if you're a heavy user, you struggle to get through a day on one charge, being able to charge up your battery so quickly is not something that you can really discount. So OnePlus 5 overall, I think, is a fantastic phone. Whether it's the best phone for you, I would look at the features and see what's important to you. From a performance point of view, you're really not going to get, you're not going to be disappointed with any phones that has the latest CPU, the latest Snapdragon 835. They're all going to run games well. They're all going to run YouTube and browsing and things like all of those things, app management. It's all going to be fine. And the 1080p screen, maybe, I'm someone who considers himself someone who has good vision, but when you're using it, you don't really notice the fact that it doesn't have a 1440p screen. So perhaps having a 1080p screen that's burning less power is the way to go. Now, I haven't been using this as a daily driver, so in regards to battery life, I can't tell whether this is the most efficient battery in the world or not. It's got a 3,300 milliamp battery. This one has 3,000. Now, HTC does have a built-in power saving mode. You've got a power saving mode and an extreme power saving mode, and I use those quite a lot to save battery, and I think they're amazing. There's no such thing like that built into the OnePlus 5, but there's so many apps out there that you can do from the Play Store that help you do that, then I don't think it's necessarily a negative that it's not built into the OS itself. So if you've got any questions about this, please let me know. I'll be hanging on to this a little bit longer, but I'll probably be giving it to my brother instead of selling it. So if he's watching it, he'll be getting an early birthday present. But overall, I think the OnePlus 5 is a great phone. If you get any questions about it, please do ask below. I do apologise if I've missed anything. I'm not reading a script. When I do these reviews, I just try and remember everything that I feel is important. Occasionally I do miss out some things, but so if there's anything I've missed and I didn't cover in the video, please do, post your question below and I will answer your question. And if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up too. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching and take care.